welcome again to another show of the Deeper Conversations. I'm your host, Zipporah Gachuche. Yet again, very excited to be with you on this show to bring insights, wonderful conversations with empowering information. You're most welcome. Please stay tuned. And today, we are joined by a wonderful lady who I'll give the opportunity to introduce herself, to tell us what it is she does, as we pick on a very interesting conversation that I know you'll find quite insightful. Joyce, you're welcome to the Deeper Conversations show. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Zippy.
Yes.
Thank you for having me here today.
You're welcome.
So my name is Joyce. I am a midwife. I am also a humanitarian worker. And I sing as well. I write. I keep a blog. And I also have a podcast called the Bath and Stool podcast, in which I discuss maternal health issues, especially surrounding pregnancy, labor, and delivery.
Wow. You do so much. You are truly alive.
Thank you.
You're like a multi-colored flower that brings forth all these beautiful scents and colors.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for that. And today I would want us to focus on your area of midwife. And just to start off the conversation, why midwife?
Wow. So really after my first training, my training in nursing, I had this passion to just be able to be a part of the process of having a baby and bringing life, into the world. So I enjoy working with expectant moms and just being able to walk with them through the journey of pregnancy and prepare them for a safe delivery. Yes.
Awesome. I think for me, I find these conversations, this one in particular, very almost personal, because I'm a mother myself. And I remember the first time I carried my first baby. I found it so amazing. So amazing that there is another human being growing inside of me. I found that to be, quite something. And just that there is a way that a whole human being can be fashioned and come together in deep secrecy, because it's not something we see, And I really held that very highly, and even just the whole process of childbirth. So for me, this becomes a very interesting conversation. And I would just want you, because now that is your area, this is something you do almost, you see it every day. Talk about that, the almost sacredness, the mystery from, of conception, of a human being growing within another human being, and even just the whole journey all the way to childbirth. Yeah.
Well, I think motherhood is such a gift.
Yes.
If you ask me, because the Bible says, I knew you before you were born. I formed you in your mother's womb. So it's really an opportunity that women are given to partner with God in creation, and nurturing a new life. And with that, I also appreciate the fact that every child is born with a purpose. So imagine God allowing that baby to be conceived in an individual. Not, your baby could not have been born with from another woman. It had to be you, because there's something that God put in you to nurture that particular baby for them to grow up and be able to fulfill their assignment on the earth. So I think it's quite a privilege that women have.
I like what you called it, partnering with God. It's almost like partnering with God in a very divine assignment of bringing forth new life into the world. In fact, bringing forth a whole destiny, a whole assignment, a person who is assigned. Like it says in the book of Jeremiah, you have mentioned it in the Bible that, you know, when Jeremiah was feeling off and not adequate for the assignment ahead of him, and God told him, I fashioned you in your mother's womb. So it really is quite, you know, like you have said, quite a privilege, like you called it.
Yeah.
And how, you know, just briefly, how has that been for you? You know, just seeing, you know, just walking through that journey, working with different mothers, working, you know, maybe with many who may not understand it, even as a sacred assignment, like we'd want to call it, or such an important, you know, journey. So how has it been for you?
Okay, I remember several instances during my career in the labor ward. You know, you'd meet different kinds of mothers, each one coming with their own unique challenges. They could be health challenges, they could be emotional issues, probably from a difficult marriage. And she's there, and all she has is you at that point in time, with all the baggage that she's carrying. You know, so for me, really, I really treasure that moment, because I have to carry her safely. In spite and despite the issues that surround, and make sure that she gets through that labor and delivery safely. And, you know, just be alert through the process, because complications can arise, emergencies do happen. And, you know, just be able to be on time, and make sure that everything falls in place, and the process is through safely.
So actually, it goes beyond just making sure, okay, is the baby out? Have you, you know, have you eaten well? Have you, next? It is more than that.
It is more than that, and more so once the baby is born. I'm the first one to see this baby even before the mother. You know. So a midwife can either kill that baby or let it live. And not necessarily killing physically, just by the words you speak at that point in time. Just the first touch that child has on the face of the earth. Imagine it's the touch of a midwife.
It is a midwife.
So it's really
even before the mother.
Even before the mother. So it's really a sacred moment.
I like that. And even before that, that you said even the mother is still in your hands.
Yes, for sure.
That as she now walks that journey, especially in that moment of childbirth, she literally is helpless and in your hands. Whatever happens at that moment, you, depending on how much weight you have put on your assignment to bring forth this life, it all really will depend on you. I like that. And I can relate, because now that you say it, sorry to bring it back to my own situation, because especially for my first child, I had a doctor who was, you know, so sensitive to everything, every moment, everything that is happening, and even the vulnerability of the mother at that point, because then they wholly depend on you as the midwife.
That is true. I remember the story of the two midwives in the Bible, when Pharaoh, you know, was threatened by the growing population of the Hebrews. And he gave an order that all male children should be killed at birth, you know, because he felt threatened. But you see, God had an agenda way into the future. So these two midwives are positioned, and they realize, you know what, we are not going to kill these babies, but we are going to you know, to protect them. And well, they defied the order. I want to believe they were putting their lives at risk. But they honored God and allowed these children to live. So, I mean, what if they had obeyed? What would have happened to the Hebrews?
What if they had taken their assignment as midwives lightly? Carelessly. Whatever goes. After all, I'm here to just ensure this job is done. Whoever is giving birth, whoever is living lives, whoever dies. But because they within them, they were sensitive to the fact that now the killing of male children, that was almost intentional to finishing a whole tribe.
Yes.
Because the male is a seed carrier.
Exactly.
And that was the intention of Pharaoh.
Exactly.
Just, slowly now start cutting off these people.
Yeah.
And again, I would call it partnering with God, because again, they stood in the gap.
Yes.
And decided we will not do this thing. And in the process, also Moses
was born
and saved.
That's true.
And the deliverer of Israel.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I like
true.
that. And even now, before even we get to the childbirth part, even the mother, how you handle the mother has come to you. I am in this situation, okay. And of course, pregnancy is, in most cases, a very exciting time for most mothers. But like you have said, many come with many other issues, many other, maybe back home, there is all this that is happening, and many of them may not see what we are saying now, the excitement, the sacredness, the mystery of carrying a child within you and bringing it to term, and even bringing forth new life. So again, you do walk the journey with the mother to ensure, because I think I've checked out a few of your podcasts, and you talk about nutrition, the care of the mother, so that by the time they get to that point, they get there safely and in good health and well able. Tell us about that.
Okay. Any journey you go through, you have to prepare for it.
Yes.
With the end goal in mind.
Yes.
So I want to believe pregnancy has to be carried and taken with the weight and seriousness that it deserves.
Yes.
Because even before conception, the woman's body has to be ready, to bear that baby. There are changes that happen physically. There are changes that happen emotionally, socially, financially, literally in every aspect of this mother. So it's important that somebody has the right information and the right knowledge to be able to, anticipate how 6 months down the line will look like, 8 months down the line, when do I go to hospital, what is labor, for example.
What should I expect?
What should I expect?
What should I do?
What should I do? Can I go in alone? Will you be there for me? So yes, I on my podcast, I just try to prepare and just provide simple information that any woman can easily adapt and be able to apply in their journey. Of course, it is evidence-based, because you have a lot of information in the internet. Not all of it is worth taking. But that said, it's important that also somebody intentionally prepares also to have antenatal clinics where they go and get checked by a doctor or a midwife, just to make sure that everything, her and her baby are okay. So yes, preparing for the journey is very important.
It's important.
Yeah.
Now let's discuss. So the mother has walked this journey, has reached this point, and the point of childbirth. Anything could happen. Many things do happen.
Yes.
And we've had scenarios where there are different kinds of bringing out the baby, where it can be a normal delivery, it can be a C-section, what they call a cesarean section. So maybe touch briefly on when is a C-section necessary, and why can't I just be led to just go this thing the natural way, the way God said, or rather designed, that this is the way it should be?
Okay, that's a very valid question. Because in the most recent years, I think it seems to be the easier option. Because I won't go through labor, the many hours of labor pains and pushing. But then That said, there are indications, valid indications for an emergency cesarean section, or even an elective or planned one. For example, when the mother's health or life is at risk, or the baby's life is at risk. Maybe the mother has severe high blood pressure, and keeping her continuing in pregnancy and labor, we can easily lose her. So yes, we manage the pressure and any other surrounding issues, and then we plan to get that baby out soonest and in the safest way possible. That's just one example. For example, now for the baby, if the baby's heartbeat is abnormal, what we call fetal distress. It could be the cord of the baby's around the neck. Of course, we cannot see that. Maybe during labor, or the baby has a past stool in the womb, what we call meconium staining, when the water has broken. So for sure, we cannot allow labor to proceed for that mother.
It becomes an emergency.
It becomes an emergency. Of course, depending on the stage of the labor. If she's almost approaching a delivery and you can safely deliver the baby, then you can allow her to have a normal delivery. But if it's early labor, then you're putting her baby at risk. So there are valid reasons for emergency CS. There are also valid reasons for planned CSs.
Yes, that's what I wanted to ask. Now all those are happening. We have gotten there, then you realize, oops, something else is happening here. Can you quickly rush her to theatre?
Exactly.
But can I plan this in advance?
Yes, you can. If maybe the baby is big, maybe 4 kilos and above, and the mother's pelvic bone is not wide enough to handle a normal delivery, then for sure.
Is that a natural situation, like where the pelvic
bone
is not sufficient?
Yes. It's
that is a natural.
Yes.
Either have it or I don't.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Different women have different sizes of the pelvises.
But then how do I know that?
Now your doctor will be able to identify that.
Okay.
That's also one of the reasons you have a scan during pregnancy. So it's important to have your antenatal checks during pregnancy. So yes, some of these things can be picked up before one is ready to deliver. Then you have a planned cesarean section.
So what if, like you're saying, because that's a natural occurrence, you're saying, either have it or I don't. Perchance that for one reason or the other, it wasn't picked up in advance. Either I didn't do my antenatal checkups, I didn't, for whatever reason. I remember, when back in school, we had girls who'd get pregnant in school, and those things used to remain secret. You will not even know. Then one day
you see someone holding a baby,
you're like, whose? So in such a case, there is a likelihood that such a lady may not have gone through the clinics, the checkups, and such a thing was not picked up. So now it's time for delivery, and as you're saying, the pelvic space is not sufficient, so then what happens in such a case? Does that make it another emergency cesarean?
Most likely. Yeah. Because if the baby cannot be born through this pelvis, which is already a natural thing, then yes, that would be the alternative, the option. Yeah.
Would that be the reason why maybe one or two, home deliveries sometimes don't, if that wasn't picked up in advance? Because we've also seen cases where there are very successful home deliveries, and then others that are not so successful. So could that be one of the reasons why some of them are not as successful? Yes,
you're right. But before a home delivery, I want to believe a home delivery, you have a midwife working with you. She has assessed, she has worked with you through your entire pregnancy. And for her to comfortably agree to deliver you at home,
she has done all those checkups.
She has assessed and is confident.
So that means even if you're doing a home delivery, it is good to make sure you have a professional midwife walking the journey with you.
Yes.
So that they are able to see all these
red flags.
Yeah. In case they are in it. So that by the time you get there, okay, good, okay. Clears the air. All right.
It's important. And I think also, like in the rural setting, we have these traditional birth attendants.
Yes.
We have community health workers.
Yes.
And they have, I want to believe there's a level of sensitization and skills that they have.
They can use,
that they can use. Unfortunately, sometimes you have things not going the right way in the rural areas. Maybe they don't have a health facility that is within reach.
In case such a scenario comes up.
Exactly. But yes, even in the traditional birth attendants from way back,
they know how to check these things. I agree. Okay, I like that. So C-section can actually, the cesarean can actually be pre-planned, but can I take it just because I don't want to go through? Are there consequences to that? I guess maybe the fear of labor, because we hear stories of the labor ward that can just, freak somebody out sometimes. It is possible. Not because there's anything wrong with me, I just don't want to go through the labor.
It is possible. I mean, people do that because they want, to have also maybe a level of control over this entire birthing process. But many times, maybe people really don't know the whole picture. Because then things like recovery of the body takes longer post-cesarean. You have a scar, which is different from the
normal delivery where the body just adjusts back.
Exactly. So recovery healing takes much longer. It also somehow limits the number of children somebody can have, because with a first scar you can have a maximum of 3 cesarean sections, for example. Why? Because you also don't want to put much strain on the uterus because of
after the scar,
because of a risk of rupture of this uterus in labor, if at all you go through labor later.
Because flexibility then of the uterus now becomes reduced,
particularly at the scar area. So any tension on it is risky. And again, with the first CS, you can only have, it is safest to have another baby after 2 years. So there are risks on both sides, but there are more risks
with the cesarean section.
With the CS, yes.
All right. Wow. Okay, I think that is something we just take for granted, because true, because we have seen mothers who are able to go through 6 children. Others now, because of the cesarean scar, after that you can only do another 2, making it a maximum of 3. And that's it. And
again, you can try labor after the cesarean, the first. There is something called trial of labor. But again, if the woman doesn't progress as expected, there is also obviously a tendency to still end up with a cesarean section. I think what I'm trying to say is we handle you more cautiously. More carefully. More carefully. Of course, we'll assess you and carefully monitor you much more. Because of the risks that this previous scar poses. So yes, and again, you cannot be induced. Induction of labor would be much
after the cesarean. Now after the first,
yes.
So induction
we are very,
now,
very cautious.
Becomes now again a no-go. Oh wow. Okay, so that's actually, the cesarean actually makes you a more, I don't want to call it a complicated case, but a more sensitive. Going forward. Makes now childbirth for somebody even more sensitive, more careful, more timelines, Okay, all right. Good to know that. We'll take a short break.
Okay.
And as we come back, we can take up the conversation once again and even go wider and deeper.
Okay.
Thank you. And viewer, we'll take a short break and we'll be back. Please don't go far. Welcome back, viewer, to the second half of this conversation. Today we have Joyce, who is a professional midwife, and we are getting into very interesting parts of this conversation. We have looked at just the foundation, the basics, the basic information of what it is that she does. Now we get to the second part of this conversation, and Joyce, you're welcome yet again, and thank you once again for joining us on this show. So now we take on the conversation on a very interesting part. We want to discuss something that I would not want to call it very new, but that has been growing over the years, where we see men wanting to be in the labor ward together with their wives, or and tell us about that. Let me not comment. You tell us about it. The benefits.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. That's an interesting question you ask, because for men, whether it's the spouse or the partner,
yeah,
or relative, because someone may